This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now.
Yes, it does. Good Wednesday morning and welcome to Open Line, everyone. Brian Callahan with you this week on the program. And David Williams, of course, producing the show. The numbers to call or text in the St. John's metro area, 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, 1-888-590-VOCM. That's 8626, of course, for the acronym. And, of course, we welcome your emails, openline@vocm.com. Read them whenever I get a chance. And, of course, I'll get to some sports, including a little Olympic update eventually here. But impossible this morning not to acknowledge the absolute terrible, horrible set of circumstances in the small community this morning of Tumbler Ridge, BC. After what happened there yesterday. 9 dead, plus the shooter, and at least 24, we're told, more injured. I've heard numbers go up to 27. Mostly all at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. 6 killed there, and another died on the way to hospital. 2 more were found in a home nearby, which police believe is connected to this school shooting. And by all accounts, an active shooter alert was issued. Police rushed to the school, but the damage was already done. They arrived there to find the victims as well as the shooter already dead. The only suspect, a woman described only as having brown hair and wearing a dress, was found dead inside the school. That's the shooter, they believe, from a self-inflicted injury. So she took her own life. And this is not a big school. We're talking grades 7 to 12, only about 20 in the graduating class this year. About 150 total would have been inside the building, I think. One student at the school said he and his classmates were locked down for more than 2 hours behind barricaded doors. He said it felt like I was somewhere that I had only seen on a TV. So officials have said they will struggle to ever determine a motive here, the why, for what is one of the deadliest shootings, let alone school shootings, in Canadian history. We haven't had many, fortunately, a handful compared to, say, our neighbours to the south. So first of all, this is still very much, we do not know a lot about the circumstances here. I can't stress enough how important it is, as responsible adults and human beings, not to assume anything. Yes, police in Canada are much more tight-lipped and reserved with initial information than you would see in the U.S., where they're already out with the type of firearm and everything else at this point, most likely. But here's what we do know. The shooter woman has been identified, but not the identity has not been released yet. That alone makes this a uniquely tragic incident, because we know that perpetrators, more often than not in such shootings, are predominantly males. And we know that not from the school shootings in Canada, of course, but south of the border. And the numbers do not lie. Last year, there were 77, roughly, give or take. Some numbers go back and forth, but between 75 and 80 school shootings reported in the U.S. last year alone. 32 killed, 121 injured, by far the highest number of any country in the world. Canada, no reported school shootings with injuries last year. In fact, nothing really close to this since the massacre at École Polytechnique in Montreal in '89. I mean, since then, we have been fortunate. Only 2 incidents with more than 2, and I don't mean to be tempting fate here, but as I said, the numbers don't lie. We had 2 incidents with more than 2 or 3 victims, one at Concordia University in '92 and in Saskatchewan in 2016. 5 were killed, but 2 of those at a home before the shooter went to a school. And, of course, the Tabor, Alberta shooting in 1999 where 1 was killed. And again, this shooting yesterday in Tumbler Ridge happened in what most would describe as an idyllic, picturesque community tucked right into the foothills of the BC Rockies. Population just about 2,500. So, it is very likely everyone involved there knows everyone involved with this tragedy. So that community, its residents, including every child, I can't imagine in both the secondary school, which is where the shooting occurred, as well as the elementary school, can only imagine the parents in the hours before they knew what was actually going on, couldn't get in touch with their kids in some cases. So both schools had been locked down, and their lives are changed forever, and not for the better. And, your mind immediately goes to, the fear that it could happen here. I have a daughter in high school, just dropped her off before getting here to the station. And, love you, kiss goodbye. Watch her carefully cross the crosswalk and in through the doors. And you hope she's secure. But, the secure schools protocols have been initiated just a few too many times for my liking or comfort around these parts lately. So, I know the reasons for the schools, secure schools, differ. Not always a threat against the school, but they're often dealing with the potential, which we've heard educators and the Teachers Association talk about over and over, about the aggression or risks they face almost every day in the school, how the risks have changed. And, we can talk about guns and gun control and prevention and the buyback, but the reality is someone in that state of mind isn't thinking about the legal repercussions of their acts. That's just it. They've already decided this is the day. They're going to end their life today or yesterday and take others with them, as many as possible in some cases. And we don't know even how many guns were involved here, but one can only imagine with that much carnage. So then, it's up to those closest to that person. It's up to law enforcement to keep, tabs on the most risky people in the community. If that person has been identified as a threat in the past, to be aware that someone's mind has gone there, knowing their history, telling someone. As I said, I don't know. We don't know yet the answers that everyone wants to know. Chief among them, why? Why did she do this? We still don't know the ages and genders of the victims, whether students or teachers or staff, nor do we know what kind of guns were involved. We don't know if this was targeted against anyone and others got in the way. We just don't know. But we do know that community is waking up today praying that this was a bad dream. But then the reality kicks in and the hard work, really, really hard work begins. Counselors, others descending on Tumbler Ridge to do what they can do for those affected forever, really. You go through something like this. I see the PM, the Prime Minister Carney, has cancelled his trip to Munich, Germany today to deal with this, and rightly so. Other politicians, including the Premier VOCM and others, sending their heartfelt sympathies and condolences and hearts with that community. The old thing by hug your kids tighter, hug your loved ones tighter. Thank God that it's, I guess we could say for now it's not us, thank goodness. You never know. These communities, you always say, but I never believed it could happen here. So that's a tough one, but I wasn't going to leave it till later. It's, rip that Band-Aid off. It's we have to discuss these things, and we've got a lot of schools around, a lot of kids in our schools, and no communities clearly are immune from this kind of upset, this kind of shock, this kind of tragedy. So your thoughts on this morning? Absolutely. I heard the president of the Newfoundland Labrador Teachers Association on morning show this morning, your VOCM mornings with Russell and Jerry Lynn. Absolutely would appreciate, of course, a call on this show as well from Dale Lamb this morning if he has the moment. We'll move on to other stuff, but again, it's not a good day. It's a bad day. It's a hard day, and we're thinking about everyone out on that West Coast. Okay, quick check-in on the Olympics. Canada's medal count still, we're standing at 3 right now. Of course, old news now, but the Canadian women, they were handed their, watts to them yesterday. Not just shut out by the rival Americans yesterday, but also outworked, outskilled, outskated. It was what it was, and without Captain Marie-Philippe Poulin, not entirely a shock, maybe, given that the U.S. has dominated Canada of late, winning 8 of the last 9 games they've played against each other, including a sweep in the last rivalry series. So our girls have their work cut out for them, not just for these Olympics, but for the program going forward. Maybe start with a new hook. Maybe that might help them out a little bit. Anyway, there'll likely be a rematch in the final, though. You never know, as the competition continues to improve all around us. Finns and the Swedes. Just waiting for that big upset in the Olympics. Could be this year. Who knows? Meanwhile, one more sleep for the men. The men start their tournament tomorrow on the ice, the hockey team. NHLers, early start for us here in Newfoundland. It's like 4.5 an hour time difference I mentioned before. So apparently the game will just start just after noon tomorrow, our time, against right after I get off the air, actually. First game against Czechia, the former Czech Republic, and if you want to go way back a few decades, Czechoslovakia, which of course then split, and the Slovaks got their rivalry going against the Czechs, and the rest is history there. And as men's curling gets going today, I think, yes, this afternoon, the preliminary rounds, the Brad Jacobs rink, with Brett Gallant, of course, just coming off that hard go in the mixed doubles, looking to share his ice intel with the rest of his teammates. They get going against Germany today. I'm not sure if you heard this, but there's a Ukrainian athlete. He races in the skeleton event. I can see why they call it that. But let's see, Vladislav Harashchev he's confirmed he will wear his helmet, which has been banned from him wearing. So the IOC banned him, said he can't wear it. Why? He's been wearing a helmet with the photos of athletes, including children, who were killed in his homeland, in his country of Ukraine, during Russia's invasion, which continues. But of course, the IOC, in its wisdom, blocked him, said, no, sorry, can't use it, blocked from further use. So they apparently offered Haraskevich a chance to compete with a black armband instead, calling it a compromise. The IOC saying the helmet with images of the athletes who've been killed since the invasion, they say it violates Olympic rule on political statements. Well. What? That war and invading a country is wrong. Okay. Way to go, IOC. Tone deaf, or should I say brain dead on this one. Ironically, we all know what runs the IOC. Politics. So, banning him from using it because it might be a political statement. Okay. Just a little bit of hypocrisy there. Anyway, a little closer to home, still with a bit of sports, the economic impact of last year's summer games on the region has been released. Numbers came out with a cost investment, of course, that went into this, but new and improved venues, of course, for years to come. I think the estimates were in the range of $100 million that we might glean from the economic spin-offs or so for local coffers, and actually came in closer to $200 million, over 180. So bravo to all. When you think about the curveballs thrown at Karen Sheriffs and her crew last year, the fires, the flight attendant strikes, the heat warnings, the venue naysayers even. People, I'd get up weekly with a tip about the Aqua Arena not being not going to be ready. No chance it'll be at the ready in time, they said about the Aqua Arena. And of course, Miss Sheriffs now has been just recently tapped to lead the NL team at the 2027 Winter Games in Quebec. So well-deserved, absolutely. And a shout-out to the members of the Bay Roberts Fire Rescue who came to the aid of a expecting mom in the middle of the night. For all the hard calls first responders have to deal with, this one must have been an absolute godsend. So Fire Chief Michael Murphy says they were called out a few weeks ago, around 2 in the morning. 22-year-old woman was in labor. Paramedics had been there. They called the local fire department, said they needed some help. So the responding crew members, Adam Russell, Cole McDougall, Roy Mercer, Dean Franey, Andrew Daw, all provided what the chief said was calm, professional care to a young mother who you can only imagine that hour in the morning going into labor and no hope of getting to a hospital in time. So at 2:19 a.m., Wyatt Jonathan Nicholas Snow was safely delivered by paramedics and fire rescue, and Chelsea Bradbury and Jennifer Earl, who are also members of the fire department. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a second EMS crew there involving, there's Tony Noserthy, Herm Snow, Kyle Riddle-Ellsworth. They're also on scene and standby. Apparently it was all the fire department's first delivery in their more than 80-year history. I also understand they received these stork pins, that paramedics often get, the EMS often get for doing this kind of duty. If you, for lack of a better word, an emergency labor. So they got those stork pins, fire department members, during a ceremony this week, which was attended by tiny new Wyatt into the world, his mom and other family members. So apparently these stork pins are usually presented to EMS, but the honor was extended to the firefighters given the circumstances. Excellent. I needed that one before the other one and before getting into this. So let's see. Let's get into some of the harder stuff. I do want to mention a couple of things before we get to callers. I see where the International Reuters news agency, they are now reporting that Equinor is just, quote-unquote, weeks away from announcing whether to proceed or not with the massive Beta Nord offshore oil project. But the story itself has a real positive tone to it, that looking good. We all know it's been on again, off again. As the Norwegian company made adjustments, so they could make the business case for it, make the numbers work, as they say, lower project costs, make it feasible. And, of course, placate the concerns of this province, whether it's the workers and the amount of work that needs to be done here. We know that that has been the biggest concern, and what Premier Wakeham said will be his biggest issue going into any talks with Equinor, making sure whether it's the top sides. We know that originally it was a gravity-based structure, but they decided as part of those lowered project costs to go with an FPSO. So, hoping we still don't have word on how much work or what work might come to this province through all that. But Equinor says, the report from Reuters says Equinor aims to boost overseas petroleum by about 25% by 2030. So that alone would bode well for the project here, and they allude that this project would be a part of that. So we all know a lot of work going on behind the scenes, whether it's discussions with Ottawa and the PM, the province, fighting to get as much of that work. And according to the, Equinor's Executive Vice President of Exploration and Production International, that's Philippe Mathieu, he said, quote, "We are weeks away from Decision Gate 2 when we start using the big money." So there you go, right from the horse's mouth. We can talk Equinor, we can talk the potential for good news on that front in the not-too-distant future. Also, apparently some hearing that reportedly some 8,000 speeding tickets are from the speed camera program last year. They are now in the mail. My tongue today. They're on the way to drivers, wherever you live across this province, accounting for about $3 million in fines, apparently. So those, the speed cameras went up last year. They were quietly taking pictures of you if you were doing the excess amounts on the road, not behaving. And the government has apparently resumed mailing out those tickets now after putting that on hold. Of course, that was all due to the postal strike. So they held them back. The opposition, of course, criticized that, said, that was an unnecessary delay, and they, really was time lost. So if you're a lead foot kind of driver, keep an eye on your mailbox because they're coming. Tickets ranging apparently from anywhere from like a couple of $100 up to about $2,000. And good luck contesting them. That could also be a tangle given the scaled back services at provincial court. So that could be a bit of sticker shock, to say the least, unexpected probably. We do our best to budget for the expected expenses. But you really don't know if you got caught in this case, and who knows. So, surprise, not necessarily a good one. That could be coming in your mailbox or I doubt my mailbox. I'm pretty careful, I have to say, for all kinds of reasons. When you have children, and especially when you see some of the stuff, take one close call, lock it in your brain, and just realize that extra 2 minutes is not going to save you. 2 minutes, it might save you your life. And I haven't spent a lot of time on all the noise up along. Time was when, you barely had to pay attention to it. I miss those days. But we all know we kind of have to now, because one way or the other, we can be affected by what's going on, whether it's travel south of the border or across it, which has come up to light now with any luck, on the Gordie Howe International Bridge. So I would ask this. Raise your hand if you ever knew it existed before yesterday, honestly. You may have known there might be another bridge in the offing, but if you knew it was named the Gordie Howe Bridge and you knew it was almost near completion and due to open in just a couple of months. So from an educational perspective, this has all been a good thing. But that's about where it ends right now. So the Gordie Howe International Bridge, 2.5 kilometers long. It's 6 lanes, got the cable-stayed design. If you've seen any images of it by now, you see there's like these massive cables connected to 2 massive towers, and they're actually designed to resemble a hockey stick, building on the Gordie Howe theme. I can see the images. I haven't quite seen it. Maybe you need to be there in person to have a good look at it. Maybe the angle, I don't know. In any event, it will be the longest cable-stayed bridge in North America, if and when it opens, connecting Windsor, of course, and Detroit. So somewhere along the way, someone got in Trump's ear on this one. There are some reports suggesting it went like this. A friend of the billionaire owner of the other competing bridge, the Ambassador, there's also the tunnel, by the way, but the owner of the Ambassador, friend of Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, and they apparently had a meeting or discussion. Doesn't seem to be any dispute about that. But what happened afterwards is anyone's guess, because within hours, Trump issues this threat to block the opening of the competing bridge, the new Gordie Howe Bridge. And by all accounts, I mean, whether he did any homework on this one or someone just said, here, go with it, because credit to Prime Minister Carney, who was quick to call Trump on it. Whether or not you think it's poking the bear, and we have to, it's got to be one or the other. We have to, find a way to deal with these sporadic, unpredictable, crazy claims that just upset the apple cart to no end. So then, Carney was quick to call him, and then he held a media briefing. So we'll see where it goes. A lot of outrage on both sides of the border, given that Michigan actually funded the other side of this. Canada funded the project, but Michigan is part owner of it. And even the Governor Whitmore yesterday, and others, of course being a Democrat, but others, it doesn't matter what side you're on. And some of the residents, the comments just, let's hope they're having enough of them, because, it can't change soon enough. I mean, look, few people outside the Oval Office think that this was really, think this was just really, really completely bonkers. I mean, the family of the Ambassador Bridge, the owners of that want to limit the new bridge, meet with Lutnick soon after Trump. And not only that, the technology that comes from the bridge. I mean, these are all the things that Trump has been blustering about, whether it's border security or efficiency for business to get across, back and forth. Oh, my God. I mean, where does it end? I don't know, but there's a lot of meat on that one if you have any interest. Following the Guthrie story, of course, the mother, Savannah Guthrie, the talk show, the Today Show host in the United States. I'm not sure if you saw any of the camera images that they finally have been able to release of an unknown male at the door, messing with the camera, clearly armed. So at least they have an image, and within a short time after that video of being released and all the still images, of course, this is the kidnapping of her mother, 85-year-old mother, more than a week ago now. And within a short time after that, it was announced that the FBI had a person of interest, or at least had someone in custody, or I won't say in custody, but someone of interest anyway, that they were talking to. So I don't know where all that goes yet. Haven't really had a chance. I've just haven't taken my eyes off the tragedy in Tumbler Ridge, really, since I managed to get some shut-eye around 2 this morning and back up around 5. And I'm not sure if I missed anything in that 3-hour period, but certainly the closer-to-home tragedy took precedence over that. Of course, the Minex, can't ignore that. That's a big deal. The mining conference that's been undergo, I think it wraps up today in Labrador West. Heard the Premier speaking there yesterday. Can only imagine the chatter up there a la MOU and the temptation to sign it and unlock more power for mining companies, critical mineral mining companies, and on that goes. Let's see. There's just a slew of stuff. I don't know where to go with half of it. We can still talk about Cuba and the situation there if you have any people that have been there and are trying to get back out. We know all the major airlines now are working not to bring people there, but to get them out. So it can go on and on. Housing, EV strategies, you name it. Not enough to talk about there today, Dave. I'll leave it there for now. Again, it's a tough day for Canada, for Canadians, for the West Coast especially, and we should all be feeling, I can't imagine what we're all feeling here today, other than, hug the ones close to you. Just thank God, for now, and pray for everybody else going through this horrific day today. Let's take our first break in the morning there, Dave, and be right back. Brian Callahan on Open Line. We'll be right back after the break. All right, let's start the show off this morning on line number 1, and Ron, you're on the air.
Yeah, Brian, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, first off, I'd like to thank you for filming there on the show, and that you're doing a fantastic job there, buddy.
I greatly appreciate it, Ron. I really do.
Yeah, and I'm sure Dave, behind the scenes, is only people like you know exactly what Dave is doing. You're all us for this.
Oh, my man. I tell friends, and people just in passing that what you hear on the air is about maybe 30-35% of what the show is all about and what we deal with. So, yeah, thanks for that. Dave, appreciate it, too, I know.
Oh, yeah, he's a Trojan there behind the scenes, that's for sure, yeah.
Got that right.
Yeah. So you covered a lot of heavy topics in your preamble. There is, but what I'm phoning in about is not like a really heavy topic. It's about tickets from last week.
Yeah.
You had some calls last week about traffic tickets around the city and that here and there.
Yeah, dealing with these pay by phone. The whole app and trying to do it electronically instead of just feeding the meter like we used to.
Yeah. And now, I don't have the app. Like, I live in St. John's in downtown area. I use it occasionally. Churchill Park was a topic last week as well. And speaking as a guy that's gone to court a few times and fought tickets, when you go to court, there's one lady called in and said she went to court a couple of times and went with her friends and whatever, and they sort of got off with their tickets, I guess, or whatever. And that, a lot of different ways that goes down. But speaking from experience, like when you go there, you need to be prepared to pay more than your ticket as well. Because sometimes you'll be charged with a court cost if you challenge. I just wanted to point it out to people as well.
Sure.
Now normally when you go there, at least when I've gone there, they'll have a representative. Just want to give people a little idea what to expect if you're going to challenge them. When I went there, usually there's a guy ahead of time or a woman, and they'll walk you through the process and probably tell you that, like, you know, don't be surprised if your ticket is double. Like, so if you got a $50 parking ticket, that could become $100, you know, at the end, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it happens every time. It happened to me twice. I'm not a bad driver. And my last one was probably, I don't know, 15 years ago when I went and challenged one. But, yeah, and I did only get the ticket. You know, it didn't get increased in the fine there. But just want to let people aware that they may have to pay more than the ticket itself. Yeah,
and it's one thing like to go online and look at the process for going through all this. It is immeasurably invaluable for someone like yourself to call in who's been down there, gone through the drill. You're right. There's sometimes, like in criminal court and in other courts, there's a duty counsel there, you know, a lawyer who, free of service, they'll, you know, just to try to make the process more efficient when you do get before the judge, they'll give you a little briefing on what to expect. They'll look at your individual situation. They'll take you aside, no charge or anything. They'll just give you the best advice they can on how to go forward without being retained or anything like that. They'll just walk you through, here's the judge today, here's how it happens. If you want to contest it, here's this. If you don't want to, here's this, and the possibilities. And you're absolutely right. And that kind of service is invaluable.
Yeah. I sort of forgot. You are a court guy, right? You do court reporting, don't you?
It's been my beat for 30 years, but...
I sort of forgot that, yeah.
Yeah, so, and in fairness, and, you know, all transparency, I'm not often in traffic court. There are times in there when, maybe someone who owes a ton might get our attention, but I don't need to tell you, with some of the cases before the criminal courts, and as the only court reporter here at VOCM, I got my work cut out for me on a daily basis.
Wow, okay. And one other question I got for you. You mentioned about the Gordie Howe Bridge in your preamble. Yeah. You said I seen that on TV for the first time the other day, and that you said there's something in there about like the shape of a hockey stick or something? Yeah, the two pillars, the way they up and the way the cables come toward it, the design was initially, that's the way it's supposed to look. It's actually supposed to be a hockey stick kind of in swing, like Gordie Howe's famous, you've seen any of the famous statues or... more to Gordie Howe. And also, someone should remind Trump what Gordie Howe gave to Detroit, by the way. Just so he probably said, oh, good, named after a Canadian. Yeah, a Canadian who, did everything for the Red Wings. But in any event, that's the look of it. Yeah, you're supposed to be able to see that in the design. Yeah, I didn't connect those dots at all, like the hockey stick and the fact that it's going to Michigan, Detroit. Yep. I didn't connect that. And... my last little thing is maybe before the bridge is completed, they can put a couple of elbows out on the side there. That's deadly. Maybe the border or toll booths can be shaped like elbows. There you go. There you go. Yeah. And we'll end up right into the armpit of Donald Trump. Anyway, that's another. Yeah, that's another topic. Yeah. My mind. Okay, buddy. Listen, Ron, I appreciate the call. Great call. Thanks so much. Okay. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Bye-bye. You're welcome. Thanks. Bye. All right, Dave, a couple of minutes. We're going to try to catch up now. And quick break and back with your calls right after the break. Welcome back to the program. Let's go right to line number 6. And Bill Tucker with the Wessex Society. You're on the air.
Hey, how are you?
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
I'm good. So I'm just here, I guess, to give an invitation to anybody in Newfoundland who likes stories about Newfoundland. The Wessex Society, which was founded in 1984, I believe it was, is a group of people that are interested, meet either through Zoom or through the Paul Pope Film Center, depending on what the weather's like and so forth. And we just do things. We talk about stories that some things are about interesting stories about Newfoundland culture. It could be about people that have done something really interesting and so forth. And tonight we are on the Wessex Society, which you can go to the Wessex Society Newfoundland and find the click there for the Zoom meeting. But it's Life and Legacy of Gerald S. Doyle as told by family members. And it's going to be, the speakers are going to be Marjorie and John Doyle, his daughter and son. And it's going to be a film-based, 45-minute film based on his life with some really interesting video from the 30s and 40s. And, of course, he was a folk song collector, a businessman. Yeah, really interesting thing, and I get the pleasure because I'm the Zoom coordinator, but it's a really interesting story and some fascinating things that we've done. We meet every second Wednesday of the month at 7:15.
I was going to say, Bill, first of all, when you talk about household names, it doesn't get any more household name than Gerald S. Doyle. I find even the younger set, my daughter, and you say the name, they know it, whether it's from the massive, incredible compilation of Newfoundland folk music over the years. It goes on and on. Without getting into all of the history of Gerald S. Doyle, we have to be thankful and get down on our knees. And, it doesn't get any more than that. And the Wessex Society, this is, it's just more about an appreciation, hey? Like of the English Wessex ancestry and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was founded by Dr. Otto Tucker, who happens to be my father.
There you go. Another household name, by the way.
Yes, I know. So, you live in their shadows, and I guess, but their shadows are worth still shining light on. He went over to Harlow, over to England, him and Cyril Poole, another household name in this province, and they went for a little trip. And when they came back, they decided to form a group of people with similar interests, and set up a cross-cultural group. And from that, there was a lot of things. Like there was a Newfoundland Wessex Society, and there was the Wessex Society here. And through their interests, they got behind Trinity and the Trinity Trust and so forth. And it's been a lot of good things have happened for Newfoundland out of it. But there's like some interesting talks that we've had. I like the one that one of the ones I really enjoyed was Speaker Michael Priddy on Trail of the Caribou Research Group and what they were doing. A lot of things like that. In search of the Newfoundland soul, I think is what they would have said.
Yeah, and you look at, I'm sorry, I go back to it. I mean, we're talking about your father, Otto Tucker, but then there's Mose Morgan, right? Canon George Earle, oh my God, Harry Cuff. Les Harris, who I can honestly, I could call a friend. I knew Les Harris, rest his soul. I mean, who up through the years, the stories of Les Harris could tell from his, whether it was the Harris Center at Mon and, oh my God, look, it is a who's who of names and the connections between English and Wessex and the ancestry. And you said, if you love a good Newfoundland story, oh my God, if everyone loves a good Newfoundland story, you won't need to worry about filling the room tonight. That's for, or not tonight, is it? When is it again? Sorry, give me the where's and when's again. Sorry, Bill.
It's no problem.
Yes, it is tonight.
It's not going to be. Tonight is at 7:15, but we're only doing it through Zoom tonight. We're not doing it at the center. Right. There's a reason for one of our speakers not able to attend, so that's why we don't have to cancel. But all those names you mentioned, they were part of the group that formed the Wessex Society. They're all part of the executive. Absolutely people with incredible experiences, and they just have this common wish to make sure that people. One person said, "You're best to understand yourself when you understand your history and where you came from." And I think that's the important thing about this. The
old saying, "You don't know where you're going, can't know where you're going unless you know where you came from." That kind of thing.
Yes, that's right.
Absolutely. All right, so let's see one more time. February the 11th. So it's tonight, 7:30 p.m., and it's going to be a Zoom. And the link people can get the link right off the website, the Wessex Society of Newfoundland.
Right up. right off the website. There is no. We ask people to give us $10, and there's a way to pay for that, but you don't have to pay that to join right away. And a lot of people at $10. My father actually, when he formed it, as a joke, he said the cost was a jar of jam. So we don't take jam anymore, but $10 would be great, or anybody can make a donation if they want, because we're a completely non-profit. We don't even get a grant from the government. We just do it with people who like interest.
These days, a jar of jam is more than $10, so, $10 might be cheaper, but no question. And not only that, let's see. So the topic tonight, the life and legacy of Gerald S. Doyle, and a documentary film regarding our father, correct?
Which
tells the Doyle story.
Doyle. And it's a set of films that he took, and they put it together as a video. It's fascinating. The amount of kids around the bay and how they dress. I'm telling you, it is fascinating.
Sounds like a new high school course to me.
Absolutely.
Put that in the curriculum. Bill, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Thanks again for the heads up on it. Anyone else didn't get that, they can give us a shout here. We can pass on that information. But, just check out the Wessex Society website tonight, Wessex Society of Newfoundland. And it starts around 7:30. You might want to log in, make sure your connection is all good before that. Thanks again, Bill. Give us a shout back after. Let us know how it all went and the kind of turnout, albeit virtually.
Okay, I'll do that.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, you. Have a great day. All right. Right on the break, Dave. Let's take that break. Come back with your calls right after break. Come back to the program, right to line number 2. And caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
I'm calling in. I've listened to you previously many times before, and I find you to be very professional and non-judgmental, actually, in your preamble, in your the way you talk to the general public. And last week I was listening to the case of Sean that called in about he had no doctor. He was he needed mental health treatment, which he got arrested or something, and he served time, and then the judge allowed him to be exonerated because he was needing services and accountability. Now, who decides, who's involved in the mental health and who makes decisions that whether it's therapeutic counseling or counseling services for persons with mental health? I'm assuming, not assuming, but I do know that there are many areas, many people involved that can either help somebody with mental health. It could be a counselor, it could be a nurse, it could be a doctor, it could be to avail of services and help people get the services that they actually need. When I called in, when I was on the phone this morning, I was asked, what did I specifically want to talk about mental health? Well, it is exactly that, who denies services to persons that need mental health counseling, interference, and then there's the aspect of accountability. If anybody needs mental health services, they should have that right as a person, as an individual, as an adult, or as a child or teen to have those services and not be denied by certain people. And it needs to be talked about because it entails mental health treatment, accessibility, improving the system, and the services being denied. Actually, is services being denied.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt. I wanted to let you speak. Look, we're still learning on the mental health front. You ask anyone, we are still learning. We're still discovering the diagnosis. Massive issue. We would like to think that all of the people who've been educated in this field can identify what they're supposed to identify, and they all do it by the book. But mental health is just a different, I don't know how to call it, a beast or an animal. Those are two flippant terms for such an important topic. Nobody is in an easy or comfortable position when it comes to this, whether or not it's the lawyers down in the court who have very little training, whether it's the police officers who are getting there, no question. A lot of good work being done within our police forces, so we don't have those really unfortunate and awkward and just denigrating situations where someone with a mental health issue is treated like a common criminal, tossed in the back and off to the HMP you go. Trying to diagnose on the spot, social workers are up against it, the officials in government are up against it, doctors are up against it, even the most seasoned, whether it's in forensics and the tough cases, or just trying to get it, to diagnose it right out of the gate, the very first interaction you have with the healthcare system. It is not easy. It doesn't satisfy everybody. It doesn't work for everybody because we are in different places. You're asking someone to read your mind, literally, and it's not easy. So
there's a breakdown. There's a breakdown in the system, right?
In some cases, there is, absolutely.
In many cases, yes, there is.
I would say in some cases, yes. Yeah, and
yes,
Lynn, yes,
some cases. Lynn Moore talks about like systemic issues.
Lynn Moore being lawyer,
100%.
Lawyer and advocate Lynn Moore. I just wanted to say who you're talking about.
Yes, and she's absolutely right, 100%. And when you got adults or teens needing mental health treatment, whether it's counseling or whether it's therapeutic as in art, music, whatever, that would only improve individuals' their mental health.
Yeah, the difficulty is trying to trying to lump everybody into a similar category. If you've had a bad experience with the healthcare system, specifically mental health, this will be the view someone has, what you have. If you've had, your child went through the system and they are now on an equilibrium and they know exactly what the situation is and it's been diagnosed and they can treat it and they found a common ground or a balance, a happy balance, then you're probably not as critical and you're probably just saying, look, they're doing the best they can. It's on both sides of the ledger. I do appreciate your comments about trying to stay objective because that's what I'm trying to do here right now. I've seen it on both sides of the scale, and those who've been hard done by and the system has not worked for, it is horrible. It is a problem. We've seen it in the criminal courts just recently, that apartment building before Christmas, whether or not the system failed that man, Mitchell Rose. Only because of the time on the clock, I really got to get one more call in. We've got a lot of callers there, so can I get you about 30 seconds to wrap up, if you don't mind? Really sorry, lots of callers waiting.
Yes, but what I stated is facts, and I listened to Connie yesterday talking about Miles for Smiles and the cases before the court system.
Sure.
Sexual assault cases at 332 in the province, with 10 courts in the province.
Yeah. And trust me, and there are 10, and I know it because I'm in one or two of them every day. I got to get off to another caller. If you want to give us a shout back, I appreciate it. I've just got to try to squeeze one in. When I say 30 seconds, I kind of mean it. And I don't mean to get everyone short shrift, but the callers rule this show. And let's go right line to number 1. And Jim, you're on the air.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Jim. Got a few minutes there just before the news, just as a heads up.
Talk about St. John's and the surrounding area. We got St. John's, Durasney, and Mount Pearl, Bowden cities. Then you're looking at Paradise, Portugal Cove, St. Philip's, Torbay, Luggy Cay Cove, Luggy Middle Cove, and Outer Cove. All of these places got mayors, deputy mayors, and councillors. Why are they all separate? If I lived down in St. Philip's and I was going to university, I could come into St. John's.
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is that community's identity. You want to preserve it. You have a community. You want it to be your incorporated community. You want to be able to hold the purse strings. You want to be able to, you're the ones who know the community best. You're on the ground. You're from there. Some organization, whether it's a formal municipality or a local service district, does that trick. There's lots of talk about amalgamation. Yep, sorry, go ahead.
I can see that. But let's use common sense.
We know what to say about common sense.
Common sense. They shouldn't be. I know we're all related to each other. If somebody is living down in Middle Cove or in St. Philip's and working in Confederation building, you got to come into St. John's. And same thing, people down in St. John's, they're working down in St. Philip's or Middle Cove, you got to leave St. John's to go to these places.
Go home, yeah.
It don't make sense.
Which part of it?
Not logical. And then look how many mayors and deputy mayors and councillors you got. All of these people are making money. And it's crazy. It don't make sense.
So is this is all about money for...
Halifax,
this is all about money, though, is it?
Together, we'd still be smaller in Halifax. Halifax got a mayor, deputy mayor, and 14 councillors. Here in St. John's, we have mayor, deputy mayors, 9 councillors. And I say that how many's out in Mount Pearl and Paradise and Portscove, St. Philip's, and down Torbay. I know the other day I heard they were on the deputy mayor is suspended or something. But let's keep these things together. Well,
first of all, you got to get them together, just even the discussion about St. John's and Mount Pearl. Let's go. Do we want to open that can of worms?
Yeah, that was one of the politicians.
Well, that was every politician that's ever been.
I don't know what his name was, but.
Well, there was Neil Windsor back in the day, and it goes on from there. Randy Sims is a former mayor, former host. But look, Jim, only because of the time on the clock, buddy, I think you're probably going down the road of efficiencies and amalgamations, and more communities should be sort of tied together so to eliminate the expenses, I suppose, of mayors and councillors in every town, if I'm reading you right. Do call back at another time. We can explore that a little more if you want to. I'm sure there's lots of people with opinions on that. We are off to the news. Brian Callahan with you on the show. We'll be right back. Come back to the show. Let's go to line number 3. And William, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you today?
Fair to middling, a friend of mine always used to say. I'm getting there. It's midweek. I was going to call it the hump day, but it's not really hump day, not halfway through until like halfway through the day. So I'll hold that one, but longer answer than you probably wanted. I'm doing all right. How about yourself, William?
Having a hard time, my friend. Having a hard time.
What's up?
I'm a disabled senior here in St. John's, sir, and the government's gone and cut me off a lot of the social services that everybody else takes avail of. I took a CPP disability instead of doing the income support avenue, and now because of that I lost all my drug plan, and I've lost the Go Bus to be able to get out and pick up food supplies and go to food shelters to take advantage of all of this that normal social society can take advantage. And because of now, the drug plan gone, because I switched to the CPP disability over the income support.
And what was the rash?
I was senior there, and I got no food. And they got me I had a choice there last couple of months ago. It's either my power or my food. And of course, right now I'm living with no power. So I don't know what to do. The government, I'm looking at every avenue, and there seems to be nothing available for a senior disabled person that the government wants to give any help to. Given the food banks are overworked, they don't have enough food to give to people. Sure, and it puts us all in a bad situation.
William, where are you living?
I'm downtown St. John's.
And are you in a shelter? Are you in a house? Are you in an apartment? Are you in a what sort of roof do you have over your head right now?
I'm in my own home. I'm in my own home right now, but
Do you own the home?
If it's my own home that is going to pay a mortgage on. But if I keep going the way it goes, I've got a meeting now coming up with lawyers and judges regarding the mortgage that I've been able to pay for multiple months. Like I'm put into a rock and a hard place here, and I don't know which turn. And I've every aspect of the government said no, we can't help you. We can't help you. I don't know what to do, my friend. I'm at a loss. I don't know where now to turn anymore, and I'm trying to find some help, some help of somebody who can give guidance to and who's had to deal with this before.
Do you have a support worker? Or any kind of liaison with whether or not it is income support or CPP? I mean, you mentioned that because
I did have a support worker when I was with income support, but again I lost that once I was advised to go over and take the CPP disability.
What was the advantage of doing that? What was the advantage of doing that over keeping income support, and who gave you that advice?
Sir, there's people that I was in contact with, and they gave bad advice to me, and it's all turned against me now. It's not good. So I don't know what to do, and like I said, I'm just looking for somebody that's been through this and can offer some avenue to go and figure all this out. Try to come up with some food sources.
It's a tough, William. It's a tough one only for me because I don't have your whole portfolio. I don't know everything that you may or may not be eligible for. That's the tough one here, especially with individual circumstances. But an MHA for your area, for the city, that's what their office, not just the MHA, but the office, the particular MHA. And if you're in, I think you said you're downtown. So, I'm not sure, but, I don't know if you want to give me specifics, but it wouldn't be hard to find out who is your MHA for that area, and at least inquire with their office, because they have people in that office who know all the various pots of support and different options you might have. They can even have some legal expertise that could help you at least navigate, especially if you're in court now over your mortgage. And have you defaulted, I guess, maybe because of the situation?
It's in the process of, it's not good, my friend. It's not good.
Do you have any representation on that? Are you representing yourself?
I have zero representation on that. I don't have a pot. Excuse the French on it, but I don't have a pot pissing, man.
No, that's okay, man. It tells it like it is. You don't have to apologize for that.
There's I didn't have the advantage of getting up this morning and having breakfast. I didn't have the advantage of last night having a snack before we go to bed.
Your call is kind of, I don't know if it's coincidental or fortuitous. My next caller is a gentleman with 211, the service at the provincial government, and that, is a catch-all. You call 211, they can help you with everything from, food banks, mental health support.
I've touched base with 211 before. I've spoken to my MHA. Dude, I've gone to lengths on all of this. Nothing that I haven't tried, and there's nothing there. There's no services available, man. I've been there. I've done this. I've crossed my I's, dotted the T's, crossed the T's, dotted the I's. You name it, man. I've been there. It's just I don't know. I don't know.
My only other, I guess,
I've spoken with 211 before. Yes, I've spoken with them all.
How about family? Do you have family around?
No family, man. I'm here on my own.
Okay. William, listen.
Me, myself, and I.
Only because of the time on the clock, and yes, Dave puts in my ear, like I'm trying to rack in my brain, all of those services. 211 covers a lot of services, but there are there's seniors, of course, organizations too that may be able to help you out. I'm going to put you on hold because Dave's got some other information there that he's been searching up frantically along with me to see if there's some kind of avenue you may not have covered yet. So I'm just going to put you on hold just for a second, William, and Dave's going to pick you up there now and give you a couple of contact numbers that he and I have been able to dredge up while we've been having a chat. And in the meantime, we're going to take a break and come right back with 211 Day right after the break. Come back to the program, and of course the magic of Open Line continues here. I had a note sent to me by an acquaintance who wanted to help out William, our last caller there, if you were listening. William in hard situation, disabled in a home on his own. He's really run into a hard bit of luck there and really nowhere else to turn. Seems to have run out of all sort of help that he could find. But lo and behold, our callers are great. So I got a call or a text from a friend of mine or acquaintance who wants to help out. He's taken his number and he's going to drop off some groceries and drop by to see how you're doing, William. So, be prepared for a knock on the door. It's not a stranger. It's someone just really wants to help out. Let's go right to line number 2. And Trevor Freeborn, you're on the air.
Hi, how are you today?
Sorry about that. It's been a morning, to say the least. I'm really glad you called. Tell us all about 211 Day, Trevor.
Well, 211 Day happens on February the 11th every year, and on that day, we ask municipalities all across the country to sign a proclamation declaring it 211 Day and do a little bit of outreach and spread the word on their social media and that kind of thing and in their communities. And we also ask them to take part in our United Glow campaign, where we get local landmarks illuminated in red every year to kind of highlight the service that 211 provides. So this year we have CN Tower and BC Place in Vancouver, and locally we have the Confederation Building, Signal Hill, St. John City Hall, and Mount Pearl City Hall, as well as about 15 other municipalities across the province illuminating their local landmarks in red for 211 Day.
That's awesome. And now to talk about, and then everybody asks, why is it lit up? And there's your awareness. It might be easier to ask you, Trevor, what 211, what service isn't offered by that service, rather than which ones are. Because if you go on the website and you look at the list, I'd be all day here. But it might be easier just say which ones aren't offered.
Well, I mean, we consider ourselves to be the front door for assistance in the province. And I was listening to your previous caller, and well, first of all, I'd encourage him to call the Coalition of Persons with Disabilities, too.
Sure, yes.
Because they might be able to provide a hand and some guidance. But basically, we have the largest database of government and social and community and nonprofit services in the country. And we try to refer people to services and supports in their area as a top priority. And if they don't have any services and supports in their area that are appropriate, then we'll refer them to, somewhere else in the island. But, it's a terrific service. We offer support in over 150 different languages. We have social workers on our staff that are able to give people, guidance about areas that could be helpful to them. It's very efficient. We answer our calls in less than a minute, and we encourage people to call because, we're able to handle more calls and we can help people in a variety of situations. So give us a call. If we think your call is more appropriate for 811 or 911, we can do a warm transfer to those lines as well.
So this service only really came to fruition, was it last fall? Am I correct?
No, it came to Newfoundland. We were the last province in the country to get 211.
Yeah.
And but it came in 2020, and perhaps somewhat in response to the pandemic.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong number here. Oh, okay, yeah. My numbers were switched. I was going to say, no, it's been around for longer since that. I'm just curious, and you say the 150 different languages. I mean, look, there's no exclusionary there. Is the uptake what it could be, what you expect it to be, what it should be? Because I know a lot of people who don't think of that number right off the top of their head. And, when you look at all the services that are available, that you can be directed, as you said, in through the front door, that boggles my mind. I would, you would think it would be top mind. It's one of those just seems to be, out of sight, out of mind, if you will. And not as popular, say, as 911 or 811.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, it's relatively new here. And a lot of people, and there's a lot of what we call N11 services now, right? So if you're in St. John's, there's 311. And there's 611. And years ago, before cell phones, 411 was important. But so, there are a lot of 11 numbers out there. But 211 is the number to call if you need help in a variety of situations. So, we help people find food and housing and income support. Our number one call these days is around food. So 40% of our callers are looking for food resources. But we can help people in a variety of circumstances. And, we make referrals to different agencies, and we can follow up with people after the fact to see if they got the support they were looking for, and if not, perhaps we can help them find something else that's helpful for them.
Sign of the times when the greatest volume of calls is for food.
Yeah. Well, there was a recent Statistics Canada study that said that 45% of the children in this province are living in food insecure homes. Yeah. So food is paramount right now, and we try to get as many food resources in our database and on our website, which is nl.211.ca. So if anyone wants to search our database, they can do it that way. They can give us a call by dialing 211. If they'd rather chat with a live operator on the internet, they can go to the chat function on our website, which is not an AI bot. It's a social worker that's there to help you.
Yeah, nl.211.ca. And, right. There's so many different causes that we light up landmarks and buildings for these days. Kind of hard to keep track, but if you see it red today, in all red, you'll know it's for 211. Trevor, appreciate the call. Enjoy your 211 day.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. The awareness is critical. Thanks again.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. And, let's go right to, Glenn on line 4. Glenn, you're on the air.
Good day.
Good morning, sir.
Glenn Brown, Marystown Shipyard Families Alliance, Incorporated.
Yes.
I want to talk about the West Ray Bill, C-45, and its amendments as it pertains to the Marystown Shipyard and the indemnification agreements signed in 1998, 2002, and 2018. The West Ray Bill is to protect against people dying of accidental deaths and disease deaths. Well, it's basically to prevent unnecessary deaths from occupational disease and injury disease.
And of course,
specifically, what comes to mind is the Come By Chance oil refinery as of late, right?
Sure.
And when that occurred, in goes occupational health and safety, in goes workplace NL, in goes the RCMP, in goes an investigation. The coroner goes in, and all these things, which should be. I totally agree with it. But specific to the Marystown Shipyard, there's 300 people dead. No investigation. No records of deaths through the coroner. There's no records of occupational health investigating workplace NL. The biggest concern now is that occupational health and safety and workplace NL have merged. Now, they're handling the claims of the Marystown shipyard. Now, under Bill C-45 and its amendments, this puts these people in a conflict of interest in that their role here is they are doing claims for the government of Newfoundland because there's no employer status here at this shipyard anymore. So there's no employer status, and Workplace NL is handling the claims of a corporation under indemnification. Now, this indemnification agreement also conflicts with BC 45 in that you cannot protect corporations against liability for criminal law. BC 45 is criminal law. And there is no exemption for criminal law in Canada. So what the government of Newfoundland has actually done is we're going to guarantee that we're going to protect you from Canadian law, in that we're going to exempt you from Canadian law, and we're going to take responsibility for the Marystown shipyard, and we're going to deal with these claims through Workplace NL, who is also named in Bill C-45. They are in a conflict of interest because if they're involved in this, then they are also responsible under Canadian law, and anybody that's involved, including the corporations. There is no exemption from Bill C-45. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I've done a little bit of looking into this, and we've reached out to government. We've reached out to public legal. We've reached out to basically everybody. And the new government specifically called us and told us, take your concerns to Workplace NL. Now, I'm sorry, but Workplace NL doesn't respond. And the reason they don't respond is because they're in a position of criminal law that they cannot get away from. And the fact that they are processing these claims, they're subrogating these claims to the United States Injury Fund, they are transferring these records to the government of Newfoundland and Labrador. This is confirmed by the Privacy Commissioner. The Privacy Commissioner is refusing to investigate. And we're asking this new premier, stand up to your commitment, look into this issue, and resolve it. And we also had a federal minister stand up in Parliament and say, we've got the shipyards, we've got the Marystown shipyard, we're ready to go to work. Well, I'm sorry, you're not ready to go to work. That is a brownfield site that have killed over 300 people. And this is what needs to be done. You need to take responsibility for the indemnification agreements and protect the workers, not the corporations. And this shipyard can never be opened. It's a brownfield site. Brownfield sites are condemned. So, I don't know what to tell you. It's so ironic that you're advertising all these legal firms on your show, but you just can't get any legal representation in this province. And
Glenn, what happened to? I recall, it's just off the top of my head. I thought Chess Crosby, I think, and there was another doctor, a Toronto-based lawyer, or an expert I can't remember his name. I know, but I thought former opposition leader, of course, Ches Crosby. I thought he was on this case for you, and I can't remember the other doctor from Toronto. I'm sorry, but I just want to remind people what the bill like. This the C-45 was in response, of course, in the wake of the Westray mine disaster in '92 in Nova Scotia. Yes. I am intimately, it gives me goosebumps to even say those words. I had just arrived in Nova Scotia off the ferry that morning. And it was all in the newspapers. You couldn't, it was surreal driving through Nova Scotia, let alone through Stellarton and Cape Breton, where it occurred, where this horrible mining tragedy occurred. There were 26 killed. And no one was ever successfully prosecuted for criminal negligence from that. Thus, the Westray bill, C-45. And, of course, you mentioned the come by chance. Just to remind people, that was in 2002, that flash fire that killed one man, sent another 7 to hospital. I think the company was just... I don't think I covered it. Let's see, it was a $118,000 fine for Brea, the owners of the refinery in Come by Chance. They were fined $118,000 in total. So that's where the background goes. Look, you're fighting a good fight, and you would think the bill, this C-45, was supposed to allow organizations, including corporations, big corporations like Brea or whoever, not just individuals, to be held criminally responsible for accidents, as opposed to what happened at Westray. Am I right?
Yes, and one thing about that, what you just said there about Westray, most of this was brought into law by the advocacy of the United Steelworkers and Canadian Labour Congress in this country. Yeah. Yet the Newfoundland and Labrador Federation of Labour refuses to even engage this. So this is so disturbing on all aspects. If it quacks like a duck, it is a duck. It's clearly obstruction here, we feel, by the labor movement in this province, and there's no rationale for why the Federation of Labor, that operates the Office of the Worker Advisor, should not be engaged in this issue. And we've reached out to them many times. They refuse to respond. Everybody refuses to respond. And the reason they are all refusing to respond is because they are criminally liable for the deaths of this shipyard. These indemnification agreements is the evidence that will eventually convict them. And no, they can't open that shipyard. If they do, they're in breach of Canadian law.
And of course, Glenn, the other issue is there's so many legal tangles to this, and so many lawyers involved, and so many corporations with very, very deep pockets. That it can.
I understand.
Yeah, it can drag out, and then when you add the medical aspect to it, and a little part of me thinks, if this had been a shock and a tragedy overnight and in the morning, and it jarred everybody out of their seats, such as Westray, such as Come by Chance, then people would probably have moved quicker through, because the outrage, and it would be in the criminal courts. It's possible. I don't know. I'm just speculating on, when it has a bigger headline and when it's more jarring and gets more attention and gets politicians' attention. That's when it gets attention, and it has a movement to it. But this is one of those, slower moving. We know it's when it comes to occupational health and health diseases, and over time, that sort of waters down the seriousness of it, unless you were directly involved or a victim.
Yes, well, there are lots of victims
in many people's eyes. But look, only because of the time on the clock, I gotta. I'll give you a minute there to wrap up. Go for it.
No, I appreciate time. Our goal is prevention as well. Workplace and occupational health and safety, they are prevention. We've met with occupational health and safety many times. They have refused to engage this issue, and we'll continue to pursue on behalf of these sick and dying people. There is no statute of limitations on criminal law. This cannot be snowed over by a statute of limitations. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Glenn, I appreciate it. It's been a hard fight for you, more than 20 years at this stuff, so I appreciate the call yourself. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, take care. Okie doke. Let's go right to line number 5. And Trent, you're on the air. Oh, am I going to a break? Okay, I'm going to a break instead. I'll take that break. Sorry, Dave. Lost track of the clock. Right back after the break. And welcome back to the program. I'll get my break set yet. Trying to get my feet a little wet here. Let's go. Another break real soon coming up. Thanks, Dave, for that reminder. Trent, you're on the air.
Buddy, you're filling over Paddy Daly right good. You're not taking your breaks on time. That's what Paddy would do.
Thanks for that. I hope you only.
First of all, before I get into my topic, I need to know what's your favorite hockey team?
I don't have a favorite hockey team. I love the sport. I gave up. I was a goalie fan. I was a Ken Dryden, Mike Palmateer, Bernie Parent, Billy Smith, Jerry Cheevers. I grew up. I was a goalie. I grew up as a goalie, and that's just whenever I watched the game, that's what I would focus on. I mean, we had the Habs and the Leafs on in the house all the time. Both of my kids are big Leafs fans, and they make unapologetically. God help them. But if anything, I might have leaned toward the Habs. Watching them play the Red Army back in the 70s and. What are you going to do? Larry Robinson, Big Bird, Lafleur, and all the boys. So that would be it. I mean, whatever you had on a Saturday night, right, would be those games. So I flick back and forth. I got to be honest.
Well, but I mean, you were going to have a good relationship talking on the air if you stay there, because I was frightened that you were going to say you were going to be a Leaf fan. I wouldn't be able to talk.
I'm not going to hold that against my kids, but boy, oh boy, if I don't get a few texts throughout the day about what's going on with that team, and I don't know. I'm not even going to go there. If anyone wants to talk about the Leafs, fill your boots. I can do it, but I think I have on my screen curling, so you can go with that if you want. But we can talk about whatever you like.
No. The reason why I called in is I used to call in and talk to Patty and give him some updates on the local curling scene, because in my honest opinion, the local curling is not covered enough by the local media. There's a lot of good things happening with local curling in this province, and it's not highlighted enough. So I usually calls in every now and then and just gives whoever's in the chair, whether it be you, Linda, Patty, it doesn't matter. I usually call in every now and then and just give them a rundown, or just give an update on the provincial scene and try to shine some spotlight on the local curling.
Sure, love it. And we need it. And we really do need that. Look, back in the day when I worked in the Telegram sports department, which goes back 30 years, we had the legends, Robin Short and John Brown and Brendan McCarthy and the boys were all there. And look, we had a team, that department, and we took all of the local numbers and we went out and covered it. I mean, we were down to every tankard. We were there going way back to all of the look. I can go back to the legends of the game. Yep.
I remember. So I remember growing up in the house. I'm originally from Red Bay, and of course, every day 6 o'clock. CBC or NTV News was always on the TV, and I remember that NTV and CBC always used to have a dedicated sports broadcaster. I think Jonathan Crow was with CBC, and he used to do sports. And I think I forget the name of the guy who used to do on the Mark with Mark.
Mark Dwyer, current news director over at NTV.
He does NTV, and he still does a scattered sports briefing. But to me, like I said, it doesn't do enough to talk about the local curling. So I have a few quick little notes here I want to get through, if you don't mind.
Sure, go for it.
All right, the first thing I want to get off the topic is two local teams, Team French and Team Blandford. They won the provincial U18 titles, and they are currently up in Timmins, Ontario, representing Team Newfoundland and Labrador. Team Blandford is still searching for her first win, but from the games that I've been watching online, she's been playing amazing. That's the way curling goes. You come up against these strong teams, and the girls are playing really well. Team French is currently at 3-1, and they are currently in a playoff contention. So that speaks volume for the boys. The boys are a great bunch of people. They're coached by one of the legends here on the island, Alex Smith.
Yes.
Team French is going to be a team to watch in this province. Team Simon Perry and Team Locke, they were representing Memorial University at the Atlantic Championships recently, and they both captured the men in the ladies division. So now they are heading to Regina to represent the Atlantic region at the U Sports. So in February they're going to Regina. So that's a big accomplishment for them, and congratulations to them both. team. Oh, sorry. I know you had a comment there.
No, I was just going to say, you mentioned Alex Smith. I remember Pippinoff High School at Brother Race to go down and watch him and Keith Casey and the team members play in the National Juniors down at the Remax, well, with St. John's Curling Club at the time. So you just mentioned that out of the blue. I just couldn't help but say something. Continue.
No, it's nice to having this conversation and hearing like some of the names that I bring up, some of the coaches that are there and stuff like that. And hearing some of the stories, because like some of these guys are like legend in the sport. Like Alex Smith is a legend, Jeff Thomas is a legend, and these guys are all around the curling club. So to see these guys around the clubs this day, it speaks volume for what you want to put back into the junior curling or into the curling scene, right? And of course, it'd be nice to have another rink, wouldn't it? Which is the most important thing, I think, on the docket right now, if you will. We do need to get it, yes. Yep. And there's a couple more quick notes. Got about a minute. I got about less than a minute there. Trent, go for it. All right. So both Team Perry and Team Locke will be traveling out of province in March to represent the province at the U20s. There's 16 teams traveling to Gander tomorrow for the U16s. That's going to be a fun tournament. Gander always comes out and supports that one really well. So anybody in Gander, please get out to Gander and support the next up-and-coming juniors. Team Greg Smith and Jess Wiseman, they just won the mixed doubles. They will be representing Newfoundland on the Canadian scene. Happy to call Greg a friend. Not the same Greg Smith here, by the way, just for clarity. No, so that's all I have on notes right now. So like I said, I will awesome. And hopefully people are listening out in Gander to come by the Gander Curling Club over the weekend and get out and watch some junior local curling. It's going to be a great bit of fun, great laugh. And for anybody that's tuned in from a different broadcasting station, please get out and do more local coverage of local sports, because without the coverage, local sports in this province is slowly going to fade away, and we can't let that happen. Here, here. Trent, thanks for the call. Really appreciate it. And everybody headed to Gander for that this weekend. Please be careful on the highway. Get there in one piece. All right, buddy. Have a good day. Thank you. You too. All right, take that break, and we'll be right back with Lindsay talking about Greenland right after the break. And welcome back to the program. Let's go to line number 1, and Lindsay are on the air.
Yeah, good morning. I want to talk about the situation with Greenland, and President Trump wants to take it over. Yeah, okay.
We think he still does. Jury's still out on that one, but go for it.
Yeah, but anyhow, I suppose it does as an important strategic location, okay, because they already got a base on the northern part of Greenland. So I don't know reason why they want it for military purposes or not. But anyway, it's a pretty big island. And by the same token, the little country of Iceland on the east side of Greenland, which is about halfway between Scotland and Greenland, he doesn't want to take over that. There's only a little small country out there.
Even though he misidentified it and called it Iceland a few times, but so we're really not even sure if he meant Iceland or Greenland. Who knows, in Trump's brain.
Yeah, I don't know, because he's all the time changing, so you don't know what's going on with them. But anyhow, and then there's all the minerals like oil and copper and gold and silver. I suppose that's underneath the excuse me, that's underneath the ice sheet. Now to get his hands on that, it's going to take about 1 million years before that ice sheet melts down. That's not going to melt down in a dozen years or so, because that ice sheet is about 1 mile thick. So before he gets his hands on that, like I said, Greenland could be down around the middle Atlantic Ocean then, in 1 million years.
Yeah, okay. No, sorry, absolutely. I'm just listening, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the only other reason why I can see he wants Greenland, so that he could probably say that the United States is the second largest country in the world. Because you see, as it stands right now, the largest country in the world is Russia. And then comes Canada, and then comes China, and then comes the United States, or is it Brazil? Both of these countries are pretty large, so I don't know which one is the largest. But anyway, if it's the United States, they're in 4th place. But he would just love to be able to say the United States is the second largest, which would be up past Canada. So that's another reason why he would want Greenland.
Oh, yeah, I mean, look, the lists, the reasons why he would want it are varied and many. The real reason is only in his head, and whether or not he even cares about defense, and whether or not it's critical minerals, whether or not it's just his real estate brain that wants to acquire land, whether or not it looks too good not to have, whether or not it adds to or buffers his case for the 51st state and all that sort. It's hard to pontificate. It's hard to even get into the discussion right now because Greenland is so last year. I mean, in a Trump world, just because it almost seems like months and years ago that even came up when you look at it in the context of everything else that's come after it, and the threats that come out of nowhere, whether it's the aircraft, the threat of tariffs on any manufactured aircrafts, whether it's the bridge now, the new Gordie Howe Bridge.
He's all the time talking about tariffs on something, and this here now with Greenland, the way I see it, he like to have the United States the second largest country in the world, so he could throw it in the face of our Prime Minister, whoever he happens to be, and I know that people of Greenland doesn't want to be part of the United States. They just want to stay, either be a little independent nation up there by themselves, or part of Denmark.
Yeah, and then it could also mean nothing about that. It could all be just distraction from the bigger issues that he has on his plate that he doesn't want to have to deal with, such as the Epstein files. And oh my God, is that ever a treasure trove? And the stuff that keeps coming out of that. I mean, look, we can talk about it. There's not enough time in the day, not for this 1 3-hour show. But if you want to, if you want to look at what he's really thinking, right now you have to believe that's right at the top of his list for things that he doesn't want to have to deal with, and you distract with other fascinating and out of the blue ideas and tariffs, which make everyone shiver. You don't know where it's going. I mean, as far as the Epstein stuff goes, look, the names that are coming out. I mean, whether or not you talk about Bill Gates or Prince Andrew, God forbid, the list goes on. PEI is probably pretty relieved that they're named after Edward and not Andrew. I'd say that. The French minister, the ex-culture minister, he's got to resign. Norway ambassador to, I think, Jordan is resigning because of all of this. The UK PM's chief of staff, Starmer's chief of staff, of course. He's on a hot seat there. I don't know how long he's going to last when you have other countries within the UK calling for his resignation. It's just deny until you can't deny anymore.
Yeah. Did all these people have something to do with Jeffrey Epstein or whatever his name is? Like to me, you just named out a lot of people that I haven't even heard of, I know of Prince Andrew, that's about the only person you named out there that I've heard of.
Oh, look, the list goes on. We're seeing now the width and the breadth and the absolute, just all the connections that a financier and a child molester like this Epstein guy and his, of course, cohort, Ghislaine Maxwell, who now, of course, is basically trying to blackmail the president. He said she says, "Oh yeah, I'll clear the president. I'll even clear Clinton, as long as you give me a pardon or clemency and let her off the hook and release her from prison if that ever happens." Anyway, this is the kind of stuff.
I don't think that should happen, Mo. So you shouldn't be blackmailing the leaders of countries,
Well, some might say that's
some kind of a law against that.
Some might say that, yeah, some kind of law against a lot of the stuff that he's trying to do. And if that doesn't work, you change the laws, right? Look, I'm right at the news, Lindsay. I appreciate the call.
Okay, then.
Don't be a stranger.
Okay, I just wanted to make a point that about Greenland. I think that because the fact is that he got to face the fact the United States is in fourth place. Okay, that's kind of heating the heart, mind, and soul out of him. He can't put the United States above Canada.
Yeah, well, I don't think Greenland was going to solve that problem for him, but there's enough other countries now he's got his eye on, Venezuela being one and others. Lindsay, got to go to the news. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, okay then, thank you.
All right, take care. All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
All right, Newsroom's going to kill me right at just a minute after 11. We'll be right back after news. Sarah Strickland, right up.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go right to line number 4. And a great friend of the Open Line show, Rob Strong, oil and gas advocate. You're on the air.
I'll be your friend just as I was Patty's friend, Brian. Good to talk to you.
Rob, I really appreciate the call, and I hope I don't get in the middle of your relationship here. I've got I got a lot of up to speed, and you guys have had a very cozy and a great back and forth relationship with the information that, can get really into the weeds in this industry, in the oil and gas. But I'll tell you, you planed it down for a lot of people. Patty was a master at that, and you guys played off each other great with some really critical information, and you're such a great source of info on this.
It's very flattering, and I hope you and I can develop the same type of relationship, because I know you're interested in the industry, and I think I recall seeing you at the inaugural meeting of the Ocean Ranger Legacy Foundation.
You're absolutely right, I was. And I've been on the periphery. I won't say periphery. I mean, obviously I don't have an oil and gas beat. When you're in the court system the way it is these days, you don't have a lot of time. But I know that with this show, you really it's a 24-hour show, and you got to dig into these issues and be prepared, especially with this kind of tech talk. That's a lot of preamble by both of us. Where do you see us going with Beta Nord? I mentioned this morning that I saw a report in Reuters that they're just a couple of weeks away from Decision Gate 2, and anyone who followed Muskrat got a little education on what the Decision Gates mean. But they're talking, of a possible approval for development concept. Where do you see it going?
Well, I too saw the Reuters article yesterday, and I also read the couple articles in the Upstream magazine, which I said many times is the Bible in the offshore industry. It's an expensive publication, but I get it, and they're well informed, and of course they have good representation in Norway. So, yeah, it's all very positive to date. The Premier was, I think, on your station, commenting from the mining conference in Labrador that he's very happy with the progress they're making. Mm-hmm. What that progress is, we're not sure. But with respect to the overall development, yes, it's looking positive. The recent statements from Equinor indicate that they have a great desire to sort of increase their outside Norway reserves. Yeah. And that's very positive because, of course, Equinor being a Norwegian company and being owned, I think, about 70% by the Norwegian government, have a very active, and I'm talking very active program in Norway. So to see that Beta Nord fits into that portfolio or another portfolio is very positive. Yeah, we're obviously waiting for a benefits agreement. What's interesting is there are, I think, 16 EOIs, and for those that don't really understand the terminology in our business, and there's lots of it, believe me, basically the EOI process is an expression of interest. So the oil company, the operator, goes out to publicizes an expression of interest, and in that they spell out what they're looking for. And in this case, there's, I think, 16 different fabrication components or modules. And the top side of any FPSO, any floater, is comprised of modules of all sorts of configurations and functions. There's separation, there's power generation, there's injection, there's gas combustion, there's pre-feed to the flare boom, and so on. Mm-hmm. So that's very positive to see those. To see their contractor, in this case, a company called Bean, out for expressive interest, and from that, of course, they'll develop a bid list. So I guess the big question is, where do we fit in Newfoundland in all this? Equinor's position to date, or at least in the past, has been that we're going to do all the subsea here in Newfoundland, and they would probably source their topside modules outside, but it appears that there's some discussions going on now as to Equinor doing some more work in Newfoundland, whether it's module fabrication or whether it's a cash grant in lieu of fabrication. We don't know, and these are subject to some confidential discussions that are ongoing. So all very positive, although until we do and here's another buzzword, Brian, the FID, which basically means the financial investment decision, until we see that, and that's when the cash starts to flow.
So the rubber hits the road, absolutely.
That's right. So we're encouraged, and I feel good about it for the first time in a long time. So that's a bit of good news.
It certainly seems like there's been some accommodation, Rob, on both sides here. I mean, whether or not it was the meetings that we heard that Prime Minister Carney was having with Equinor leadership before Christmas back in the fall, or whether it was, as you said, and we've seen Premier Tony Wakeham talking about the positives, whether or not, look, if they've been able to leverage more work, more labor hours from the province, in this province, for Newfoundland and Labrador, if the Premier can get that, that's a big win for him when you consider all the volatility in the market and how Equinor has been, to say the least, baby steps since they first announced the plan for the Bay du Nord. It would seem like a pretty big win if they could somehow do it. I'm curious to what you think, what role the feds have played in this and what kind of breaks that could mean for Equinor.
That's a good question, actually, and I had a cup of coffee this morning with a colleague who's been involved as long as I have, and we were discussing that. I mean, if Bay du Nord is declared a project of national interest, I think that's the right buzzword, is it? Isn't that what they call it?
Yeah, that's it, the major projects list, and whether or not it's in on that. We haven't heard that that's on the list yet, but you have to think in the air and atmosphere of green technology, green energy, the push now, Canada's all in on EVs, so you have to believe that that's probably part of that discussion.
Well, another option, Brian, is that all developments outside the 200-mile limit are subject to a condition in the Law of the Sea Convention back in 25 years ago that Canada signed. And basically what that means is everything outside the 200-mile limit is subject to a royalty payable to the United Nations. And it starts off at 2% and grows to a maximum of 7%. So maybe the federal commitment, because someone's got to pay for it, whether it's the oil company, whether it's Newfoundland, or whether it's Ottawa, it's got to be paid. It's a UN convention or such, so someone's got to pay for it. So maybe the feds are going to make this project happen by looking after that, by either paying it or exempting Equinor. So the feds have several options. They can obviously help subsidize. They can reduce royalties, or they can do something with that Law of the Sea Convention and the royalties that have to be paid, as I say, outside the 200-mile limit. But certainly, it looks like the stars are aligning on that one for sure, and I'm optimistic, particularly in the context of that statement by the Executive Vice President when he says that
big money.
Big money is coming soon.
Yeah, that jumped off the page at me as well.
Other good news, not related to Equinor's Bay du Nord project, is the return of an oil rig to Newfoundland waters, the semi-submersible Hercules, which has been here several times over the years and actually drilled some of the wells on Bay du Nord. The Hercules is returning to Newfoundland this summer and from what I'm hearing, going to drill 2 wells. One for Synovus, which is what I still call it Husky from time to time.
You're not alone there.
Yeah, one for Synovus and one for Petro-Canada. And again, Petro-Canada meaning Suncor.
Right.
I'm really aging myself this morning.
No, you're just pointing out all the pitfalls that we have here in journalism, trying to keep track of the different changing, whether it's the consolidation of companies or changes of ministerial departments. It's always Rob, I know you don't have a lot of time, but Dave tells me you got to be somewhere in about 10 minutes or so. But I guess my last question, or actually I'll leave it to you, just whatever you think is most important you want.
Point for your listeners, it's Ocean Ranger time, the 44th anniversary of the sinking of the Ocean Ranger is this week. And there is a service at the Basilica on Thursday at 1 o'clock, so anybody who is interested and wants to come to that service, I know they're very welcome. It's a very serious moment, and it's time to reflect upon those that lost their lives and reflect upon some of the lessons that we've learned as a result of the Ocean Ranger. So I hope anybody that's interested will come along to that service. It's a solemn service. It's organized by the kids at Gonzaga, who perhaps are grandchildren of those people that lost their lives. But it's a very, very solemn and very serious and very touching service. So I invite anybody to join that wants to join. And I guess that's it. I had Hercules. I had, supply base. Maybe we can save that discussion for another day.
I would look grandly forward to it. And Rob, I appreciate this. And I kind of worried that you might drift away from the show a little bit. But I tell you, you're a wealth of information. And if we can forge some kind of relationship whenever I'm hosting here, that would be fantastic, because that kind of inside information, especially with the upstream, as you said, it is a pricey investment in and of itself. But and thanks for the note on Ocean Ranger, of course, February the 15th, 82. How can we ever forget?
Battery will get you everywhere, Mr. Callahan.
That's what my father used to say. Thank you very much, Rob. I appreciate it. Thanks. Don't be a stranger.
Pleasure, Brian.
Thanks.
Care.
Take care. Yeah, is that you, Atlantic Blue? My heart is as cold as you. Off to the break, Dave. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the show. Chock full here, calls and emails. I'm reading your emails. I just want to let everybody know. But when you're talking to people on the air, and you want to listen to every word they say, so you can engage in a good, helpful conversation and be able to, respond to some of the points that are made. And you got to be listening. So I'm reading all your emails. Some great points on everything from the school shooting out west in BC to school safety here, Marystown Shipyard, rain checks, you name it. Trump. It runs the gamut, and I'll get to them as I can. I will certainly dive into all of them after the show and be able to respond tomorrow morning. I promise that. But this is all live and fluid, so it's hard for me to delve too much into them. And I don't want to waste time just reading out emails. I'd rather go to the callers, which we'll do right now, and that's line number 2. You're on the air. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Danielle. I'm a single mom of 4 kids. So I work in the healthcare system with Eastern Health.
Right.
I just wanted to
NL Health Services, just for people. Sorry, people are probably yelling at the radio. NL Health Services, that we call it now, of course. Sorry.
Yes, sorry. Just took you off speaker so I can hear a little bit better. So I moved here with my kids 2022, and I noticed the lack of services when it comes to teenagers with disabilities when they're looking for employment. I was doing a 12-hour night shift not long ago, and I became ill at work. And I didn't have one coworker come and check on me. So I'm just kind of worried, I don't know, it's kind of concerning in terms of, bedside manner and stuff like that. Now, I mean, I love my job, but I'm currently on a stress leave. So, for example, I went in yesterday, and apparently my badge was, canceled, it doesn't work no more, so I don't have access, and I'm not allowed on hospital property. So, I mean...
You're on... sorry, Danielle, you're on sick leave right now? Or stress leave?
No, I'm on stress leave. Yeah.
Okay. Do they categorize that? How do they categorize that differently? I mean, and your supervisor knows? And
Well, the thing is, yesterday when I went in to get some stuff I forgot, the manager literally looked at me and said, what are you doing here? How did you get in? And why do you have green scrubs on? And I just automatically froze, and I was like, I made a mess on my clothes, so I changed. And she's like, yeah, you're not allowed on the hospital property. And I was like, why not? And she was like, well, until, you're back at work full time. But I started thinking to myself, I was like, how does that make sense? I'm probably the only employee that has that restriction, right? And I felt like I was getting bullied. I'm not the type of person that just cries for nothing. And I literally walked home crying because I was like, I'm on a stress leave, and they just added on to my stress so much more. The way I was raised wasn't really good, so having a job like that and being able to support 4 kids on my own, So, I mean, now I'm at the point where it's like, I definitely want to keep my job, but when I go in, I don't feel like an employee at all. Like, I don't feel like my work is appreciated, you know?
I'd almost be concerned and wonder if you are still an employee. I mean, you go on leave. It seems unusual, to say the least, and I only know from what you're telling me that you would have no privileges or access to the workplace while you're on leave. I don't know how that works.
The thing is, before this happened, I don't know if you're familiar, but on Facebook there's a couple groups like Skeets on the Streets and stuff. Now,
I don't spend a lot of time. I swear I don't spend a lot of time on that stuff. I just do not. I stick to the mainstream.
Anyone can post whatever they want about anybody, and that's it, right?
Yeah, which is why I don't go there.
There was things that were said about me, and then one day at the hospital, I heard the nurses behind me saying, "Oh my God, is that her?" So
how does it end up, though, that you end up being a topic of discussion on Skeets on the Streets? Like, I mean, how do you go from?
Because it's such a small town that as soon as you get a title, that's it. It's either you believe it or you don't. And I guess people go by looks. I don't know. But it's pretty bad that it comes to the point that a single mother of 4 kids, a healthcare worker, has to speak up because, like, you know, I don't know. It's bothering me, and I can't let it go, I guess, is the problem. Now, there's another thing I wanted to talk about, too. When they make a mistake on our people's paychecks, whom live, you know, check to check, if they make a mistake on the payroll, we end up getting an NSF, right? An NSFE with our banks. Mm-hmm. And there's no reimbursement for that. Like, I called my bank yesterday and found out I had 50 NSF fees in 8 months. That's a lot of money for a single mom.
Do you have an online account?
I think they should. Yeah, but I mean, why
you'd
don't
notice
they
that. I mean, look, if an NSF shows up in your account, you do your regular check, you go in and look at your balance, you pay some bills, do some e-transfers, and lo and behold, there's an NSF that I'm not paying $50 for.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if I had my budget made, let's say, for example, I think I'm getting $600, and I pay all my bills, and I got $200 left for groceries, this is what I'm thinking, and then all of a sudden, I don't get what I was expecting, there goes, you know, $100 out of my grocery money. And when you call them to try to fix it, sometimes you don't even get it until the next pay period.
How often is that happening, Danielle? To you?
That happens a lot, like a lot.
And to others?
A lot, to the point where I literally will write down on a piece of paper my to-do list to call work every day until it's fixed.
Danielle,
like,
only because
you don't harass them about it.
Only because of the time on the clock. I'm right on a break. I hate to give you short shrift. I'm here again tomorrow and Friday, but I just want to be clear. Are you still employed? Like, have you received any kind of a layoff for a reason that your tag wouldn't work?
I'm still employed. But before my stress leave, I had a meeting with my manager, right? And I didn't want to do the meeting because I felt like I wanted to go talk to someone in human rights. So I guess the manager said because that meeting didn't go well, I'm provoked from privileges on property.
Yeah, there's a lot to this. I'll tell you what, it's you know, it's a lot of personal stuff that I
talk about.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how much of it personal stuff you want to, you know. I mean, look, just my advice. I mean, some of these things really should be done in the privacy of your own mind, if you're in the privacy of your own house, the privacy of your own email, and communication with your employer, right?
That could help a lot of people, right? The NSF thing.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll tell you what. Let me know how things are going. I really got to get off to the break. I'm in the last half hour, and I got a few calls waiting.
That's okay.
I do apologize. Look, a single mom of 4 kids. Look, I don't want to give you any short shrift. I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you can work things out with the stress at work and with your employer. Whatever you do, keep us in the loop. Let us know. I don't, you know, I'm not just, we'll get emails saying, oh, you cut her off. Not cutting anybody off. We have a strict, strict as it is, I break the rules all the time.
Phone all day, like calling the Prime Minister and everything, and nobody helped.
Okay, well, let me know how it goes, and whatever you do, you know, any progress or or lack thereof, let us know. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Danielle. Good luck. All right, off to the break, Dave. Into the home stretch. We're coming back with Rebecca right after the break.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
And welcome back to the show. Let's see. Let's go right to line number 5. And Sheila O'Leary, the NDP member for St. John's East. Kitty Vitty, you're on the air.
Okay, thanks for taking my call. How are you today?
Good morning, Sheila. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Just wanted to call in because, just to clarify some messaging that's been happening in regards to Minister Conway Ottenheimer, who is, of course, Justice Minister, basically regarding the independent civilian-led police board and a commitment to formulate that particular board. So I just wanted to call in about that.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've had some media discussion about it certainly yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to clarify that basically I'm calling out the concern about the walking back on the passionate statement and honoring her commitment to clearly explain about why this is now put on hold.
Sure, and just to be clear, the walking back, those words were used by another media organization in their story, which was picked up by all other media because, let's face it, when somebody has a larger story like that, and I heard it on the national news, to be honest with you.
Okay.
First, I heard that I heard it there first, and then I heard it on the local. But in any event, those were the terms used, and of course, Helen Conway Ottenheimer, the current Justice Minister, former Justice critic, was quick to say there's no walking back going on. So go ahead.
Okay, well, we were very concerned because obviously we heard definitively that there was going to be a longer process, more engagement happen when the minister was in the role of critic and opposition. She was a passionate advocate. Said this is not a complicated task in 2025, that we need to get it done right away, immediately. And that was she was very emphatic about that, and I applaud her for that passion and that dedication.
And Sheila, not just once. I can at least a handful of times. I was in the lobby of Confederation Building, the East Block, for those briefings and those comments. So sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. No, jump in any time. Yep. I mean, I'm just so passionate. I've got a lot of things to get out.
You're never a passionate person.
Not unlike yourself.
Not unlike yourself.
So, you know what, look, let's get back to the issue here. The issue is that this has been a long sought-after issue to have an independent civilian-led police board. And the reason why we want this, why this would be a benefit to the entire public and the community at large, is because it creates accountability and transparency. When we have the workforce of the police, obviously, who have, a lot of power, this is not just about the public safety, it's about the police's safety as well, too. It's really, truly something put in place, and we know that these independent bodies are really important to have so that we can have these kind of oversight. This has been deemed as a necessity by First Voice, which is basically a collaborative effort with First Light, St. John's Friendship Center, and many partners, and in their calls for change, number 39 was about the implementation of a stronger civilian oversight of police services. Hasn't happened. So we also have heard from numerous women's organizations about this is a women's issue, about reporting, about people feeling safe, and ensuring that proper process. Again, the NDP have been calling about this for a very long time. Transparency and accountability is so important. So these things have been on the table for a long time, and in the context, we can go across the country and we see that these independent civilian-led police boards exist, and they exist for a reason, so that politics or any other kind of bias doesn't get in the way of ensuring that we rebuild public trust and confidence in the police force. They are the body that are there to protect us. And we do recognize that there's a long recognized need. So my concern is that suddenly that commitment, that passion from the minister when she was in opposition has suddenly changed, and now there's an unknown timeline about when this would be implemented or how. So that is the concern. I task her to let the public know why. Why are we stopping now when she had said previously that it's not a complicated task and we should do it immediately?
Well, she has, you can look right on our website. The minister has said since then that she has no plans now to scrap the idea of creating a police oversight board, despite the statements that have come out in the last few days. Again, there were that report had initially come out that she was walking back, and she reiterated the importance to Tuesday, I guess last night, stating she plans to draft legislation in the House of Assembly this session. And, quote, it is very disappointing that we have not had a strong police oversight system in our province. I don't think that's, she told VOCM, I don't think that's something we can be proud of in our province, that we have not got a system that has a police oversight board, for example. That is something that really propels me to want to get meaningful legislation. So the indication is that, no, it's still on board, and somewhere along the way, lines got crossed. I can't speak to it. Until it happens, of course, it hasn't happened. So your thoughts?
Well, when we get into the House, of course, we'll see. And, of course, you know, we see these things all the time, these efforts kicked down the road. So, you know, for my role and the people who are coming to me, the constituents who really want to see this enacted, it's obviously my responsibility to hold that to account.
Absolutely.
And so I'm really looking forward to the minister. And I will applaud the minister when she enacts this, when she brings this forward. But to be so passionate about it on one end, and then suddenly, we're going to kind of kick it down the road when there was an ask to, you know, do it immediately, it causes concern. And of course, there's a lot of community who are being impacted by this right now. We do want to restore that confidence and rebuild public trust in the police force. They are the people who are there to serve and protect us, and we want to have that working relationship. But right now, these are the calls that many communities have put out there. So I certainly hope that in this sitting of the House that we will see that enacted.
No question. Long overdue when you're one of the only provinces on the outside looking in, and it makes eminent sense. We all know, unfortunately, there's distrust with law enforcement, whether, you know, not to the extent, thank God we see it in other jurisdictions, but it happens, you know. It's
and Brian, personally, I will let you know, you know what, I've had great relationships with the police. I've seen incredible changes that have happened in terms of mental health and the way that the policing deals with mental health issues. There's been really incredible advances happen. So this is not to come down hard on any one party in this particular mix. This is about making sure that the public can restore the confidence by having an independent civilian-led police board, as we see across the country.
And police, investigating police is that's as archaic and gone by the wayside as it should be.
You got it. Exactly.
Sheila O'Leary, NDP, MHA for St. John's East, Kitty Vitty. Always appreciate the time, Sheila. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take care now.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You too. All right, right on the break, Dave. Let's take that one and come back with Otto, and maybe I'll get to a couple of those emails, a couple of notes here, important messages that have been passed along. Also want to mention William, the gentleman, if you were following the show earlier today, who called. He was in a hard spot in a disability situation downtown in a home, but really with few means left to his name. We did get some help there. A buddy of mine dropped by with some groceries, and I appreciate that. I don't think he wants to be named. But we got some food and some groceries and a check-in on William. He's doing pretty good now for the short term. And so he's got some support there, just so you all know. We're off to the break. We'll be right back. Into the home stretch. Let's go right to line number 2. Otto, you're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. How are you?
First time calling for you, eh?
Oh, I appreciate it. All a little bit helps. Thank you very much.
You're doing a good job. I want to bring up about the comment on the rabbit wars, stainless steel versus brass.
Oh, for trapping. Yep, sure. Go for it.
Down in Labrador, there's lots of martins, but they don't bend the stainless steel wire. But on the Hunnell's bend, I mean, the Newfoundland Labrador, right?
Right.
My son had a rabbit in the brass wire. He was alive. He reached down and get in the button. That rabbit went away in Purvis, probably with a slip on the night.
Yeah, that's sad.
Unreal. Well, I don't understand it. I'm a trapper. I never seen a martin in my life where I trap Scramble Depot ever, right? Now, they caught one up and tearing over, I think. But I'd like to know who bent the wire.
Did you say you're bending it or snapping it, or what's the...
They're breaking it off, eh? It's not strong wire like stainless steel. That's good wire, eh?
So where do people get it these days? Where are you located, Otto?
Clarenville.
So where do you go to get rabbit wire?
Mercer's. Marine.
Okay, yeah, fine. That's okay. You can mention a company like that. And have they changed what the kind of wire? Is it flimsier? Is it not as strong? Is it just different type?
The brass wire is no good, but they still sells the stainless steel. They got on rolls there, right?
And look, I wish I were more up on the legislation and all that sort of thing, but what kind of restrictions are there on the kind of wire you can use?
Well, you got to use brass or picture core. You can't use stainless steel. But in Labrador, with lots of Martin, they're using it, eh?
And why? Okay, I'm just trying to get my head around what the problem is. Are the animals getting stronger? Or are they eating their shreddies? Like what's on the go?
Well, picture cord and brass wire is no good, not strong enough. You twist it off, right?
Now, are the animals breaking free of it, or are people actually, you think, are doing something with it?
No, the animals, they're not strong enough for the animals. They busted off the snare, but the snare is still on their throat, right?
Okay.
Probably can't eat,
I thought you were suggesting, which we know, some people, don't necessarily love the presence of snares close to a community, especially when you got pets and dogs and you're out. And if they're off leash, it's on you. But,
Well, I got signs. I got a
wherever you put them.
Sign for the rabbit on there, say the dog's warning, dog on there. It's coyote traps ahead, right?
Gotcha. I don't think
up down on the trap line beginning on the hen, right? Two signs. So they won't let the dog run, then, see?
Yeah, and I don't know how many people take the time to put up the sign, but good on you for that, at least.
Yeah. Well, I think it could be mandatory. Every trapper have them signs, right?
Not a bad idea. The logistics of it, I suppose. I mean, in the outback, I don't know how feasible that is to have signs everywhere. I mean, look, hey, I'm all for it. Anything that can alert me to it. I mean, it's something I probably wouldn't even think about if I'm not necessarily a rural person. I'm out around the trap and I'm, say, out around visiting and I got my dog and love this. We're not in town. Let's let her go. But this is something that should be top of mind, and it's not always, that's for sure.
Well, you put up the sign, you won't reach the dogs on my trap line then, so he'd get caught right in the snare.
Yeah, I think
know the guys lost a dog, broke his neck going on the rabbit trail. It's a snare, right? Coyote snare.
Yeah, I heard, this is unrelated but kind of related, I heard, I think it was Councillor Jill Bruce here for the City of St. John's talking yesterday at Council about dogs off leash in different parts of the city. And areas, there's some more rural areas where you can be off leash, but once they come back into the city limits, so to speak, they have to be back on leash, and some of these are just running right back to the vehicle, or they run right up to people, and we all know. Your dog, I'm sure, you know what your dog is like, but others don't, and your dog doesn't, and anything is possible, so off-leash is just never a good idea when you're around people. But anyway, that's the sidetrack. Sorry, Otto. Give you another minute before we go for it. Yeah,
who is the Ministry of Wildlife now?
For wildlife, that'd be see, whenever a new government changes hands, they change the portfolio, if you will. Let me see. Let me just see if I can... used to be Forestry and let's see. Forestry, Agriculture and Lands. Lisa Dempster, I understand, I believe. I hope that's right.
No, she would Liberal.
Sorry, that was former Liberal Minister. I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why. Pleeman Forsey. Yeah. There you go.
Okay, from Grand Falls?
Yes, out from Central, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so, there's a lot of trapping down there, eh?
Oh, yeah. Anywhere.
I don't know if anyone's seen Martin down there or not, but I've never seen a track. I've been trapping for 40, 50 years, eh?
Yeah, I mean, anywhere outside the, the city limits, pretty much. I mean, you really have to be prepared for it. If you're going to go into the woods, Yep. There it is. I mean, you're exposing yourself to, other factors that aren't necessarily something you got to deal with when you're in the city. So you do have to sort of have your wares about you, Yeah. And Pleeman, of course, is the MHA for exploits. Yeah. So it doesn't get get much more rural than that.
All right. I'll look for change that law, not use stainless steel, right? That's a good war, right?
Yeah, I can look into that and get somebody who has a little bit of tech or anyone with the department to talk about that. I wasn't, I'm not completely up on the type of material that's allowed and not allowed, but that's a helpful one and a good one. Otto, thanks for the call. Appreciate it this morning.
Thanks for doing a good job.
I appreciate it more than you know. Thanks so much. Don't be a stranger.
I hope you get the job.
Oh, God love you.
You applied for the job?
Let's see. What do other organizations say? That's an HR privacy matter.
All right, nobody.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it, Otto. Take care.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go right to Danny. Last call of the morning. You're on the air. Only got a few minutes, but I'll do my best.
Yeah, we're trying to get some work out of Bay and North.
Right.
And how are we going to get materials here to build the uprights at the Bay and North?
Well, it depends on what they decide, Danny, what they decide to actually build here. That's the first thing. And we know that the idea was, that as you heard Rob Strong talk about it earlier, that much of the subsea work would probably be done here, but a lot of the topsides work and the bigger projects that we'd love to see go to a shipyard or love to see, Bull Arm or wherever, because certainly the
Bull Arm or Marystown.
Yes, absolutely. Didn't mean to leave Marystown out of it. That's just me. Slip of the tongue, trying off the top of my head. But until we know what kind of work is going to be allotted to this province, and the Premier has said he's making progress on that, until we know what kind of things can be constructed here, that's when they'll start. Well, it'll all be based on whether or not they can. Whether or not, first of all, we have the material that's needed, as you mentioned. Then there's making sure we have the labor that we needed. And whether or not it makes feasible sense for Equinor, because as much as it sounds like there's quite a back and forth and a massaging of the needs and wants and desires of all sides going on right now to get this at least across the sanctioning finish line. And then they'll have to get down to the nitty-gritty and the benefits agreements and how much work comes to this province. But right now, you're going back to your original question, it's hard to know. I can't imagine them allotting work to this province and us not having access to the materials we need to complete it. I can say that much.
Another thing, too, how come there not been a platform for the turnover?
Well, again, it was all costed out, project cost. Whether or not you're looking for downstream and return on investment, ROI, return on, yeah, that's right, ROI. I'm not very good at those. I'm trying to get better at all my oil and gas acronyms, but
how about the White Rose South? How are you doing with that? Is that on the way, on the construction right now?
It's producing. The West White Rose field, they just floated out the new gravity-based structure last year, and then twinned them together in the offshore. So she's out in position and the flaring and all the rest of it. So producing this year.
The modules are out there, are they?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now I got to tell you something else. How about we get a law school here?
How about, let's see.
Law school.
Danny, that's another big, that's a big topic with 1 minute left in the show. That's a topic for another day. I'd love to get into that one. I've got some knowledge, direct and indirect, on the efforts over the years to create and to establish a law school here, much like we established a medical school for years ago. It gets close to happening and then it falls back again. But with the challenges that MUN has right now, and going down the road trying to flip the switch from the divestment of various assets to find savings, and then the entire new infrastructure, and oh my God, whether it's rebuilding the tunnels and on and on and on. Danny, that's a big topic for another day. Please call back. I'm sorry, I got 10 seconds, so I'm going to have to say goodbye for now. But I more than urge you to come on back with that topic. Love to talk law school here at Memorial University. Although these days, right now, with the challenges and the priorities they're facing, that one's probably on the back burner for now. Sarah Strickland is standing by with all the news and of the day, of which there really isn't a lot going on. Is there, Sarah? We'll find out now in a few minutes. Thanks to everyone, all the callers and emailers. As I said, I'll do my best to review them all when I get out of here and get out of the show and get some quiet space where I can read and digest it all. Until then, drive safely, arrive alive. VOCM cares.